So where do you find values and principles? Well, you might find them in the core enterprise, what you do. You might find them in business practices, how you do it. You might find it in the founder's vision, what he or she wanted. You might find it in the firm's trademark product or service, what the marketplace identifies you with. Or you might find it in the organization's culture, the collective belief system. Or you might find it in a couple of these together. Now, I want to go back to the Starbucks case study. When, as they were going through this transformation, Howard Schultz and his senior executives had to make some serious and very difficult decisions. They closed 600 stores nationwide, and then they also cut $600 million of internal operating expenses. But the one thing that they really had to, they just went on for months about talking about this, is healthcare. And if you're not familiar with Starbucks, is that Starbucks, if you work for Starbucks part-time, 20 hours or more, you receive comprehensive health care. Okay? And so obviously, at a time when he's looking to cut costs, he had to make a decision about this. And this is how he responded to the question.
People said to you,
yeah,
get out of this healthcare.
Yeah, this is your, people said to me inside and outside the company, you have license to do this. You'll never have an opportunity like this again. And no one will criticize you. Everyone will understand. And this cut at the cloth of everything we stood for 39 years, I wouldn't do it. So,
as a trained communication expert, this is not just PR. When he talked about this cut at the cloth, he looked down. That's a sign of honesty. Right? So if you go back to those values and principles, where did he find it? He found it in the founder's vision. What did he want? As I go through this case study and get deeper and deeper into it, I'm becoming more convinced that this guy, he doesn't give a rip about selling coffee. Okay? He spends more on healthcare than he does on coffee. He spends over $300 million a year on coffee. Okay? What I'm learning is that he's concerned about two things. The experience the customer has in his store. He wants to have good quality coffee, but he wants to have the customer leave the Starbucks store feeling like they had a unique experience. Maybe not great, but a unique experience that they can't get at any other coffee shop. And the other thing is, he wants to take care of his people. He understands that you're not going to get rich owning and operating a Starbucks store, but we're going to take care of your primary needs. And I want to be able to do that for you. So when it came to the question of whether he should cut that $300 million, he thought long and hard about it, and he decided not to. Why? Because it was the bedrock foundation of his organization. And if he cut that, his people would not have been able to execute this change. He needed to understand that. That was absolutely vital. 20th century change was really all about what I call the Christmas tree organization. It was all top down. It was dictated from the top, right, where life is pretty good, right, but somewhat isolated. Lots of intra-competition here between the managers for resources. And then, if they're lucky, the people who actually have to produce the change, the ones who have the weight of the organization on their back, they may get some of the resources that they need to pull this off. But as you can see, it's a lifeless, inorganic organization. But what really gets me is the org chart. I mean, how impractical, how theoretical is this? I mean, are these the only people that you're talking to? Are these the only people that you're influencing? Are these the only people that you're relying on to get your job done? No, that is completely impractical. So what I apply is what I call the apple tree organization. Now, in the apple tree organization, the leader resides in the trunk of the tree. And then the leader reaches up to the managers, branch managers. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. And even up to the producers who bear the fruit and find out what they need. And then the leader, whose responsibility is to determine priorities, finds out what they need, right, and decides who's going to get what. And they reach down into the roots to the resources. And all the resources flows through the trunk to get to the people who actually have to produce the change. So it's really all about managing relationships. That's the key skill set of the leader. And the org chart really looks like this. And this is a simplistic view. But understand this, is that people who reside in the center of relationships garner power. Leaders who reside, who preside over an organization, who stick with a Christmas tree organization, they isolate themselves, and unbeknownst to them, they are losing power. This, by being in the center of relationships, which means you have to understand communication, this is where you gain power exponentially. So the social architect who builds this apple tree, and understand the thing about the apple tree, it doesn't cost a dime. Not one chair has to be moved, not one computer has to be moved. It's just a change in the mindset of the leader. That's it. The social architect within that apple tree does a couple of things. One, he or she creates interdependencies. Okay? No person is dependent, solely dependent, and no person is solely independent. Right? People need each other. And so interdependencies occur when two or more parties have power over each other because, ironically, they rely on each other to help them accomplish their own personal objectives. It's basically just a good business deal. And so the leader creates compatible relationships within that organization. And basically it's just a set of criteria. One is work styles. Right? Two is assets. Three are needs. And four are expectations. You satisfy those four criteria and you will have an interdependent relationship that is beneficial on both sides. Now, notice, I did not say goals have to be the same, and I did not say personality has to be the same. We can teach people how to communicate with different personalities, right? And goals, you and I can have completely different goals, but still work together. That's what's crucial. But as a result, right, not only just the executives, but the people who work there, right, they learn how to manage up, down, across, and outside the organization, which makes for a really terrific work environment. Now, in the 21st century, power is achieved by gaining cooperation without formal authority. Let me repeat that. Power is achieved by gaining cooperation without formal authority. Fast-track executives in this century, right, they see their jobs in a completely different way. They see their jobs as providing leadership throughout the organization, up, down, across, and outside the organization, to all the stakeholders. They're not hung up on the title. They're not hung up on hierarchy.